Hi there, I'm David Blockstock Inc. and this is a video tutorial exclusively for AE Tuts Plus. Let's just take a quick look at what we'll be creating today. Okay, so as you can see, we're going to be using Particular, and we're going to be emitting a load of particles that work both as kind of reveals and also just kind of taking color channels and all things. And we're also going to set up a custom layer that emits particles just kind of around the edges of things. So you'll see that we've kind of got a fringe around the head. So anyway, there's quite a lot of steps involved, so we're just going to jump right in here and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prep our image. I have this photo courtesy of a photographer friend of mine, Flannery O'Kafka, and all we really need to do is to kind of composite this onto a black background and also to draw some white lines around some of the features which will act as our particle emitter later on. So we'll just create a new layer, but we'll select the original one and we will get our Magic Wand tool here, Magic Wand, and we will set the tolerance to about 30 and we'll just click, and as I say, we've got a fairly good mask around. Don't worry about the shoulders and stuff, we'll be taking them out anyway. So we'll go to select, modify, and expand our mask. So we're going to expand it out, just about 10 pixels will be fine. And then I'm also going to go select, modify, and feather, and we'll feather that at about 5 pixels. Okay, just go to our newly created layer and get the paint bucket tool, and we're just going to fill it in black. And so far, that's worked out pretty well. Something else I might do, I notice I've got a little bit of blue around my kind of the hair on the photograph, so I'm just going to create a new, you can't see this, I'm going to create a selective color layer. It's at the very bottom, and we're just going to take this, and we're just going to take our blacks and we're just going to darken them down a little bit, so we've got a little less of that blue coming through. There's something about there. That looks good. It'll add an extra layer onto a thing, but we can just select them both and hit Apple E and just merge them together. So the next thing I'm going to do is, and just to be on the safe side, I'll do this on a separate layer again. I'm going to get a brush, and we'll have it about 70 and about maybe a little higher than that, maybe like 40% opacity. And all we want to do is we want to just start kind of blending in kind of some of this. So you're just kind of taking off some of the harsh edges, and mainly we want to do it around the chin. So let's just, just draw and keep drawing a lot of lines. And finally, what we might do is we might just bring our size down a little bit and our opacity down to about 15 or 16, and then just kind of blend out the ears a little bit more so they're not kind of so bright. And that's pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Maybe just around the top. Okay, that's good. So we just merged those two layers again now that we're happy, and that's fine. So we've kind of got our mask layer and our full face. Now what we need to do is to draw our white lines. Okay, so to create our white lines, it's very simple. We just create a new layer. We take our paintbrush. I'm just going to use this brush that I used normally, which I created. It doesn't really matter. I just like using it. So we're just going to select that. We're going to take our color. We're going to make it white. I'm probably going to drop the size down a little bit to maybe about 15. And basically all we need to do is kind of trace a few of the contours of the lines. So, just really simply, sorry, our opacity's down. That's fine. Okay, just really kind of easy, nothing too complicated. So I'm trying to keep the lines, they don't need to be all connected, they can just be kind of like broad brush strokes. The only thing I think is maybe at the bottom of the chin you make it kind of a bit darker, because that's where we're going to be emitting a lot of particles from at the very beginning. So, just kind of keep it rough, keep it simple, just the kind of main lines on the face. So you don't want to go too heavy with anything or too much. So eyebrows are good to do. Another thing I think is don't really, it's kind of creepy when the eyes get revealed like the pupils get revealed early, so I find not to put too much underneath the eye, just maybe like a few little tiny bits, but concentrate above the eyes. It works well. As well on the fringe, kind of for the hair, it's nice kind of when these pick up some of the highlights. So just kind of a little bit of that. I think we're about done. I might just add in a few extra bits just on the forehead and maybe at the sides of the mouth. I'm pretty happy with that, I think. I might do the ears just a wee bit as well. Just a few kind of things. Right, okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to call these something. I'm going to call this one outlines. That's our white lines. And actually I'm just going to put these two in a folder, new folder, there, come on, and call it face. Right, so that's pretty much it. So we just want to save that out, so I'm going to save as. I'm just in my folder, which I'm keeping all my stuff in, and I'm just going to call this face PSD, and I'll just replace that one that was in there. So I'll just replace that. Okay, that's fine, and that's pretty much us done for the image prep. So now we'll move into After Effects and start working on the next stages of that. All right. We're now in After Effects, and the first thing we need to do is import our file. So File, Import, and select our face PSD, and we're just going to keep these as a composition and just keep the sizes of our layer that we had in Photoshop. So hit OK, and as you can see, they've all come in here, and they're all 1280 by 720, which is what our Photoshop file was set up as. And that's what we're going to use actually as in terms of our size of our composition in After Effects as well. So you'll see we've got our 3 original layers. So we have our original photo. I don't know, it's not really showing up here, but I've got the original photo of our face, and then we have the outlines, and we also have, that was just the black mask that we used. So and we also have this composition here, which was what comes from the fact that we put 2 of those layers in a folder, which is just our face and our black mask here. So and it's also just created this normal composition which has kind of our Photoshop structure in there as well. We don't need that one, so we'll just delete that. So we're going to create 3 compositions based off this. We're going to take our face, in fact we're going to rename it first, and we're going to call this one, if you just hit enter and then you can start typing, face full. We're going to take our outline, which is our white outlines, and we're going to drop that in a new composition, and we're going to call this one emitter. And we're also going to just take our face full again, and we're going to drop that in another pre-comp and call that face reveal. Right, and these are the 3 layers that we are really going to use. So I'm just going to color them something and just drop them outside of that file structure, close it up. So I'm going to set up the emitter particles first, as we're going to use them. We are going to come back to this when we start working with the particles, but I think it's important to get this one set up now just to make things easier. So we're going to take our emitter, we're going to select our outline face PSD, and we're going to start stacking some effects on this. So I'm going to write fractal noise, turbulent displace, and also I'm going to write vector blur. And the point of doing all of this is to try and create a kind of a map from which the particles are going to reveal, but one that's kind of random and changing so that the particles are moving and emitting from slightly different places every time. And it just kind of gives a much more natural feel to it. So let's just start with our fractal noise. If you don't know what a fractal noise is, I'll just create a new solid just to show you here. And it will probably explain what we're doing. Oh dear, that was not even close. Fractal noise. Okay, basically what it does is it creates this kind of turbulent, cloudy image, and you can play with the the settings on it to make it lighter and darker and things. And then also what we have is the evolution settings, which make it move around. So it can be used for loads of reasons, but I'll show you what we're going to be doing. Seeing as we're working on black, we're going to try and create a black and white matte for the particles to reveal from. So it's only going to emit from the light areas. So by adding a fractal noise, and if we turn this way up, maybe to like, yeah, somewhere around here, you see we're kind of revealing little bits and taking away little bits. And then added to that, maybe just brighten this up a touch as well, just so we're getting a slightly higher contrast. If we hold down Alt and click on our evolution keyframe, we can add an expression which will just make this evolve over time and change. So we're going to hit time and then Shift and 8 and to get a little star, and then we're going to write 500. And what this basically means is it's going to move kind of 500 degrees every second. So just click off that, and if we just scroll forward, you'll see that our fractal noise is animating away there in the background. So next we've got turbulent displace, and this is just going to move things around and warp it and all. So I'm going to type in maybe about 30 here, size a little less, maybe 25. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, not bad. Complexity I'm going to move up a little bit, just maybe 2. And again, I'll click on our evolution and write time times 300 this time. And what we're doing is now we've got a face that's kind of moving around, doing all types of weird stuff. Finally, we've got vector blur. And this is just quite a cool effect. It does really strange things. Not so visible here. The more you turn up this map softness, the more you'll kind of get to see what's happening here. I think that's maybe a little high. Really what we want to try and do is just get something, no, it probably needs to be higher than that. This kind of wispy, changing face. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. It's looking quite nice. Okay, let's go for that. So that is our emitter setup. So we're just gonna hit save, and next we'll talk about the face reveal. So we're going to move on to the face reveal, and I'm just going to open up that comp that we created called face reveal. As you can see, we've kind of got the full face in there, and yeah, I think we're good to start here. So the idea for this one is that we're going to start emitting particles from kind of the bottom here, and we're going to use them to reveal the face as they go up. So what we're going to have to do in this first instance is create a new solid. And that's fine, and I'm just going to call this particles. Okay, we're going to go up to effects, presets, hit particular, and open that up, and that's fine. So that'll now have put particular on that layer, so it goes transparent, but you'll see as we kind of scroll forward that all our particles are being emitted from the central point. Now, there's quite a lot of setup in this particle system, so just bear with me as I go through some of this. I'll try and explain it as I go. So we want the emitter type to be a box, and that just allows us to position it and play with its, just look down here, the emitter size and things. So I'm just going to knock that up to maybe about 500, and 1550 is fine for that. We also want to move it much further down, so it's just at the bottom, and so that the particles are not reaching the face before. In fact, let's move it up a little, about there. Okay, we'll be fine there. So as you can see, particles are kind of going up. Next, what we need to do is we need to set the direction of them. So direction, we should be able to write directional, and they will just go out at one angle. And most of this, I think, is all fine at the moment. We might come back and play with it, maybe not. What we really need to concentrate on is the particles and as well the gravity system. So I'm just going to go into physics here first. And we're going to set physics model to air, that's fine. And we also want to set the gravity. Now we want the particles to move up over the face. So I'm going to set this to -40. And hopefully if we just play we'll just see that all the particles start drifting up, and yeah, that's kind of what we want. Now we're going to kind of be working in a lot of these things in conjunction with each other, so I hope I'm not jumping around too much, but let's start with our particles here. I'm going to go life. I'm just going to say about 5 seconds at the moment, just so that they get to the very top. Sphere, we just want sphere. We don't want too much feather on these. We want these pretty tight. So let's just change that to about 5. Size, we want at the start to be very small, and then kind of as it grows to be bigger. But let's just knock this up a wee bit here just at the moment so we can see what we're doing. Size over life is very important. We're gonna create, if you just look down these sides, it should give you some options, and this is kind of what we want, but maybe you can draw your own, and I think we want close, kind of quite a steep bit at the start, and then a kind of fall off after that. So that's pretty good. It's tough doing this. Okay, something about there. And as you can see, they get emitted, they become very small. They're emitted, then they get bigger, and then they start getting smaller again. So that's kind of what we want. Try that again. Close enough, I think. Maybe. Okay. Also, let's just start putting keyframes for these things because we're going to be using them. So I'm going to stick one for life, I'm going to stick one for size, and I think that's all I need at the moment, life and size. Oh, also I need particles per second, so let's go up to the very top and hit particles, and that's how many particles get released as time goes on. So let's just stick with it at the moment. We'll work on our gravity fields now, and then we'll go in and we'll start keyframing lots of things. So so we'll toggle down on our physics the air, which will give us all our options, and we also want to toggle down turbulence field. So this is what's going to give us our randomness. And again, these are just numbers that I've played about with. It took me a wee while. It can kind of be quite confusing. A good thing is to put on this visualize field, and it will show you kind of the rough kind of air fields that the particles are being affected by. Just means that you're not going too crazy with it or anything. So I'm just going to start putting in some numbers here, mostly in this turbulence field. So I'm going to type in 6, and that's kind of affecting the size of them, so they're going to bulge out a wee bit. Position, let's go 100, and as you can see here now, we're starting to get these kind of wonky and wavy lines which are changing things. Fade in time, I don't want any of that. Scale, take that down a bit, maybe 6. Complexity, not quite high, so I'll put up 7. Octave multiplier, I'm going to put this up to really high. I'm going to put this up to 10, and that's going to do a lot of kind of crossing over of particles and things. I'm not entirely sure what all of these mean or exactly do, but I just kind of play with them, and I'm going to change this one to 1.1, and evolution speed I'm going to drop to about 18. Now we're going to use these X and Y, Z offsets, and again they cause a bit more crossing, so I'm going to put 1800 in for the X and 280 for the Y. And I'll just do a wee round preview here, and you can see that they kind of, yeah, they're working pretty good. They're all kind of crossing over, and there's kind of a nice randomness and a kind of a nice feeling to them. Okay, good. Now what we really need to concentrate on is our keyframing of all of this, and this is I'm just going to turn this turbulence field off so we don't see it. So in fact, I'm just going to say this one fit up to 100%, so we've constantly got it in scale. Right. Okay, particles. Let's hit U, and we have our 3 keyframes that we have already set. and it's mainly just a toss-up between these three keyframes. And the idea is that we want them to come on small at the beginning, then get really big kind of at this point so that they cover the whole face. So when we use them as a matte layer for the face, they show the whole face. And then we want them to all to kind of fade off as they go past the face, and kind of let it go and hide again. So I'm just going to chuck in a few numbers here, and we'll see where we get. First of all, what we want to do is particles per second. I'm going to set here, and we want quite a lot of particles, so I'm going to write 3000 and just about the 3.5 second mark. I'm going to go back to the start here and just type in 0. So we just start with nothing and we move up. Okay. I also want then, after this point, so after we've got this many, we want loads of particles to come into play. So we're definitely not getting any holes. So I'm going to say 46,000, so another 0 in there. And we'll get something really dense kind of happening after that. As you can see, we've got really white. And then I'm just going to let this kind of fall off all the way to about 8 seconds or so. And call this one 350. So just a few left at the end. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is I'm going to set our life second. So at the so in the middle here, I want them to be quite long and definitely not to fade away. So I'm just going to set this at 5. That's good. At the start, I want them to be a little shorter and to fade out a little faster. And because we have our nice kind of fall off, they don't just disappear, they shrink down as well. So I'm going to say about 2 at this point, and then we get bigger, and then we come, in fact, we can just leave it at that, I think, because we want them to stay on long. And finally, our size. So we're going to start quite low, maybe 5, and then move up to about 20 seconds. About 4.5 seconds, and then go change all the way down to 0 so that they just completely disappear. So this is kind of looking good. I think our gravity needs to be much less to make them move a lot faster. So at the start, we've kind of got a few bubbles coming through, and then it slowly builds up until we got a completely white face, and then again at the end, they all fade away, and that all kind of crumbles. So I think we're about there. So let's just take our little end bit here, and we'll just trim that comp to that work area. And that should be our reveal, except that we actually need to do a reveal. So I'm going to take our face fill, I'm going to say LumaMatte particles, and because our particles are white, they will cause a reveal with our LumaMatte, and that's pretty much it. I'll just do a quick RAM preview for you here, just so we can see this. And that's pretty good. Okay, one thing that I maybe forgot to put in there is we can probably have some size randomness for our particles. In fact, we could put it really high. So let's just go to the size and say size random, and just put that all the way up to 100. And that means we get a much better variation of particles kind of coming through. So I'm pretty sure that's pretty good. If we just go back to our compositions settings, put it on black as we're going to use it, you kind of be able to see what we're doing here. And that's working pretty well. And then at the end, yeah, it kind of just crumbles off. Nice, good. Okay, save that. Okay, so now that we've got our reveal done and our kind of our emitter mask set up, so we can now create our final compositions. Sorry. I'll just call it final, and 1280 by 720, and it needs to be about 13 seconds long. That's fine, so hit OK. what we're going to do is we're going to drag down face reveal and emitter down in here. I'll set emitter above the face. And as you can see, we've kind of got white lines around the same layer where they kind of match up. We're going to move into our face reveal and steal our particle layers there because we've already got the physics set up for that. And we will go into final and we will paste that particle layer there. And let's just turn it on so we can see it. Now I'm just going to reset a lot of the things here. So let's just hit U on our keyboard and we'll delete all the keyframes that we had. That's fine, so we'll just keep it there. We want to set up our emitter as our particle reveal layer. So I'm just going to call this 0, 1 particles because it's our first set of particles, and we've got 4 sets to build. So first set of particles, we'll go in here, we'll say emitter type, and we're going to choose layer. And in order for it to reference this layer that we need to turn first this emitter to a 3D layer, and then move to layer emitter, choose emitter from our list here, choose particle birth time and lightness size. Okay, now if we turn off emitter, we're going to need to probably crank up the amount of particles that are being revealed here because at the moment there's none. So I'm just going to set this to about 45 or maybe 40,000. Okay, and they're massive, right? So let's tone this down a little. These can be about 3 seconds long. We're going to make the glow sphere. We're going to make the size much smaller, so let's just make that 2, size random 100, yeah, and we can change the maybe opacity random to about 50. And now you see we're kind of getting something quite nice. I'm just going to keyframe these on and off. We don't really want them appearing before our layers being revealed, so let's just set a keyframe of 1, and then about 1.5 or so. We'll set another, move back to the first one, and just take this all the way down to 0. And similarly, at the end, at about 9-ish seconds, we kind of want to hit another one for 40,000, then we just fade it off to 0 again. So, if I'm just going to turn off the reveal, so we kind of move in, start revealing, and then they fade away, and they'll just flip up. So that works quite nice. One other thing I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to create a curves adjustment on them, choose alpha, and I'm just going to crank a bit of an S curve in here. That's maybe a little too much. Basically, I just want them to be a little brighter. I think so. Somewhere around there. That'll be fine. I'll hit save. And we'll move on to the next set of particles. So the next set of particles are also going to be based from our emitter, and they are going to reveal kind of face underneath it. So I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to duplicate it and call this O2 reveal particles. And let's go in and we want kind of similar kind of specifications for this one. Maybe we want to make them a little bigger. We want to take the glow sphere off, so let's take that off. Size, maybe a little bigger. Let's go 4. And I think I want the opacity random down a bit, so let's check that to about 15 or so. And what we're going to do is we are going to go into our project. We're going to take our face full, the full face, and drop that just underneath it and set its LumaMat, TrackMat to O2 reveal particles. And see what it's doing now is it's just showing up behind the particle, similar to our reveal map. Let's do that, and that's working quite well. I don't think we want, I don't know, they're looking a little soft for my liking. I'm just going to go into the particles here and see what we can do. Let's take that opacity random way down, and I might play with some of these. I'm just going to say none to this, and I think, yes, that hardens them up a lot more. So let's stick with that at the moment. I think we're doing pretty well. Good, good. Another thing I might just do here quickly is change the random seeds so that they're not overlaying each other, so that we get a little bit more dispersion with the between the particles. So that's good. So those are those first two. Next we've just got to do just there's some like extra particles that are going to be happening. So yeah, I think we're good so far. Okay, let's save that. Okay, we're just going to create a few extra sets of particles that are just going to reference the face and just reference the color of the face as well, and just kind of run over the top, so it kind of you have that kind of underwater feeling of it all. We are going to create another particular level layer. Sorry, we're going to turn it on, and I'm just going to go into the keyframes that we set up for this one. I'm just going to turn them down to maybe about 400, something like that. And similarly here to about 400. Now we want this one to reference our face reveal. But when I tried that before, just as a base layer, we were getting a lot of kind of black particles coming up because of the black around the head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our face reveal, I'm going to duplicate it, I'm going to get this mask tool, I'm going to just mask very roughly around the face so we're not getting away from the color of the face. Do that, and then I'm just going to hit layer, pre-compose, and say move all attributes to the new composition, and I'm just going to say face reveal mask, and that's fine. So then now if we just solo that, we've just got a face there. Okay, so let's go back to our O2 reveal particles, and we need to rename this actually, so I'm just going to call this O3 extra, and in fact I'll call it O3 extra, I'll call it large, because we're going to create kind of a slightly larger and smaller version of this. We are going to make sure our face reveal mask is turned onto a 3D layer. And so then we go to our layer, we can choose face reveal mask, and hopefully we should probably see something. Yeah, we're starting to get some particles emitting from it. And we're going to say particle birth time, that's fine. And for this particle RGB usage, we are going to select RGB particle color. Now you'll start seeing that that's now taking some skin tones and things. So I'm just going to take the opacity of this down to about maybe just like 80 or something like that. And I think that's probably enough for that. Yeah, I'll make them a little bigger. So let's take the size and we'll say 7. Maybe that's a little large. 6. And I think as well, transfer mode of how they sit over top of each other. Well, we could maybe try screen, or I don't know if it works. Maybe lighten. Yeah, lighten kind of works well. You get a little bit of overlay. Okay, so that's one of them. The next one we're going to do is very similar to that one. So let's just duplicate it. We're just going to call it O3 extra and just call it small. And actually what I should have done with the O3 large as well was change that random seed. So I've done that, and I'll do this again with the O2 small. And all we're going to do with this one is maybe change this down to about 3. And hopefully we should have quite a nice bit of variation between all these particles. Now, our O2 and O1 particles, I feel maybe we could get away with a few more kind of being emitted, so I'm just going to knock this up another 10,000. So I'll just copy that number, and in fact just copy the keyframe, and we'll just paste it on there, and take as well our O1 particles and paste it on here. So that's fine. As well, I just need to call that 104 so we know what we're doing. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick round preview of this. I think there's a couple more things we need to do, but we're getting there pretty well. So here's just the round preview. Okay, we've got our preview, so I'm just going to play it. Well, that's working pretty well. I think the only thing that really is kind of slightly bugging me is kind of when we get to this point, it's taking a long time for the kind of forehead to fill in, and we're just getting all these very crazy, noisy kind of shapes that are happening. So what I think we could do is we could probably make a put another instance of the face in there and just kind of mask it up so that it gets revealed on fully, and then we could probably just fade it off before all of that happens. So we'll just do that now. I'm just going to give ourselves a little bit more room. I'm going to take project panel and we'll go face full. We will drop that above our face reveal mask. Okay, now we know that our face reveals, let's just turn that off just so we can see. So about kind of when we get to about here, we really want all that stuff to start filling in. So let's just put a rectangle tool. I'm just going to create a mask the whole way around the head. And in fact, let's just zoom out a little bit here. We're going to hit M on the keyboard, set one for mask path, and move forward about 1.5 seconds. And I'm going to drag that all the way up to the top, just like that. So, in fact, we could probably move these back to about here, so like maybe even further. Stay there. Yeah, that looks like it'll work pretty well. Maybe just space it out a little bit more. And then we're going to just toggle down our mask settings here, and we're going to set mask feather. Let's just set the feather to about 60 pixels. Let's just check that out. Sorry, we need to turn it on now. Sorry, and set it to subtract as well. So we'll turn that on, and we can, I think we're starting to see kind of, yeah, it's quite soft. So we're hopefully, because it moves at quite a good speed, we won't really notice it. And then kind of when we get to this point, just before we fade off, I think we could probably just do, take our opacity down. So let's just take that down to 0. In fact, we need to just see when, I think somewhere around here is probably okay for that. That will just break up before the rest of the face disappears. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, we're just going to finish off by doing a little bit of curves and just some final tweaks to everything. So I'm just going to go up to the top here, let's hit New Adjustment Layer, and I'm just going to put curves on that. And let's just kind of give ourselves a little bit, kind of be nice as well. I always like to go to the blue channel and just pump up the blues into the blacks a little bit, even so we kind of get into the surrounding area. That's maybe a little high, and then just bring it down a wee touch in the center, and maybe just at the top there as well. And we kind of just get a nice kind of look to it. And I mean, you could go crazy on this. You could make it look really underwater. We could maybe go for a hue saturation. So just drop that on there. Come on. And we could just drop the saturation down quite a bit. And then, you know, you could pump the blue channel up like a lot more. So, you know, we're kind of doing something like that. It's kind of got a nice look to it, but I think I'm just going to stick with slightly more natural skin tones. So let's do that. In fact, I might just take a little bit of the hue out of it. Okay, good. And you know what? I'm actually just going to add a little few more. We had these at 400 pixel or 400 particles a second. I'm going to double this up to like 800. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it on our other layer, and similarly up here, paste and paste. right, and hopefully that'll just give us a few more particles that are kind of just going around there. So yeah, I think that's about us for the face. I mean, what you could always do is to put motion blur on for all your particles and for the comp and even for the face reveal, and that'll just help them all kind of flow a bit together. But yeah, that's going to slow things down. My computer's already slowing down a bit here for this one. So I think what I'm just going to show you next is how to maybe swap out some of the elements for this so we can use it for a completely other purpose. Another example of using our particles. Alright, so as you can see, we've just got a bottle with an After Effects logo on it, or an AETUS logo, sorry, and we are using exactly the same particles. I haven't even touched the particles from that first instance, so exactly the same. So I'll just show you how we set this up. It's quite simple. It's just a case of swapping out a lot of the elements. First of all, I'll open Photoshop here, and we can see we have the artwork, and it's set up exactly the same way that we had our photograph set up. So we've got our original kind of picture with a mask, and then with our white lines on it here. So I'm just going to call this white lines. And then we're going to move into After Effects, and I'll just show you how to swap all the elements out. Okay, so we're back in After Effects again, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import our bottle layer. So File, Import, and we're going to choose Bottle PSD, and we're going to set it to Composition again. Just going to open that, hit OK, and there's it come in. Now, what we want to do is we want to swap the layers of the bottle for the layers of the face that we did before. Now, the easiest way I find to do this is to select everything that was to do with our original face composition and put it all in a new folder. So I'll just do that now. Just drop that in, and I'm going to call this face. Okay. Now what I need to do next is to select it, duplicate it, and we're going to call this bottle. So now we have duplicates of all the files in there. Okay. We do not need these face layers anymore because we're not referencing them in this case. So we're just going to delete those. And we also, from the PSD that we imported, we don't need the composition that it made just there. So I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to drop the bottle layers in here just so we've got it all in one place, and scroll it down. Now this group was based on our folder, and it's just the original photo of the bottle and the matte layer. So I'm just going to call this bottle full like we did originally with the face as well. Okay, so next step is just to rename all these layers so we don't get confused between them and the original ones. So I'm just going to write the word bottle before each one. So if you just bear with me a second, I'll just, oops, sorry. I'll just change all these out. Up here, sorry, make a mess. Okay, so that's them all renamed. And also I've just noticed we've got kind of two copies of Bottle Full. They're both the same thing, so I'm just going to delete this one here. That's fine. Okay, so Bottle Emitter, we're going to start with that one. We're going to swap out the layer that we need to. So we'll just open that up and take the outlines, and we now have our new bottle outline. So if you just select it, hold down Alt, and drag it on top of the layer that you had selected as well, then it will just replace it. So that's good for that. Bottle reveal, we'll do bottle reveal here next. So we just need to change that for bottle full. So we have bottle full in here, Drop that on top of there, holding Alt and dragging it on. Then we need to do bottle reveal mask. So select that one and we'll change this for bottle reveal. So select it, hold down Alt and drag it on. And also for this one, because this one has a mask attached to it, we do need to change the mask a little. But this is a fairly easy thing, so just open it up and it'll just click off. And I'll just speed this up so you don't have to watch. Okay, and then the final one is to do bottle final, and really all we need to do is just swap out all the relevant files. So that's bottle reveal. This one is bottle reveal mask. This is bottle full. There it is. Oh, there, that did not work. I'll try that again. And bottle emitter. And finally, bottle full here again. Okay, and even though we've swapped out the layers in the particular panel, it should have automatically updated our emitter settings. So let's just take a look at that. If we go to layer emitter, it's automatically changed out the face reveal mask from bottle reveal mask, and that should be the case throughout. If it's not, it might be worth just setting them to none, before then resetting them to bottle reveal. So anyway, I think that should be it. If we scroll forward, it might take a little second to load it all up. But there we have it. It's appeared, and it seems to all be working. So anyway, that's pretty much the end of this tutorial. I hope it was useful and enjoyable. And yeah, it'd be good to see what else you can do with it. So anyway, I've been Div, and yeah, thanks, bye.